I still remember the way the wind felt on my face the night everything began. It was warm, almost too warm for early spring, and I remember thinking it meant something good was coming. Funny how the smallest details stick with you when you have no idea your entire life is about to split in two. Sometimes I catch myself replaying that night over and over again, wondering if I ignored some sign the universe tried to whisper to me. Maybe I didn't want to listen, or maybe I was too blinded by hope, and by him. My name is Rosie, and this is the story of how the man I was supposed to marry, the man I loved more deeply than I ever thought possible, vanished the moment I exposed the darkest secret he had tried so desperately to keep hidden. People still ask me if I regret it, and some nights, when the memory of his voice comes back like a ghost brushing my ear, I almost say yes. I met Adrian Hale in the most unlikely way. I wasn't the type of woman who moved through luxury, not even close. I was working as a junior event assistant at a fundraising gala. The kind of event where cameras flash non-stop, and the smell of expensive perfume hangs so thick in the air you feel like you're breathing in money itself. I was wearing a borrowed dress that didn't quite fit my shoulders and flats because I couldn't afford heels that didn't hurt. I was invisible there and I knew it. But he saw me. I was trying to fix a floral arrangement that had already stabbed my fingers 3 times when I felt someone stop behind me. I didn't turn around immediately. I thought it was one of the sponsors complaining about something trivial. But then I heard a voice. Deep, calm, almost amused. "You look like you're 1 second away from throwing that vase through the window." I turned, and there he was. Adrian had that kind of presence you feel before you even see. Tall, sharply dressed, the definition of elegant control. But it was his eyes that hit me first, dark, intense, like he saw far more than he let on. I laughed without meaning to, which already embarrassed me. I told him the truth, that the arrangement was crooked but guests had cameras, and my boss had a temper, and my patience was hanging by one last rose petal. He smiled. A real smile. Not the practiced billionaire smile you see on magazines. Something softer. "I think it looks perfect," he said. "Maybe the people here need a reminder that imperfections can be beautiful." I remember blinking at him, confused. Billionaires didn't talk like that. They didn't approach event staff unless something was wrong. But before I could think much more, he gently adjusted the vase for me. His hand steady and sure. Settled into place perfectly. And yes, my heart reacted in the most cliché way possible. But at the time it felt like the universe had shifted an inch to the right. We talked for a few minutes, small things, simple things, but every word felt oddly natural. Then his assistant called him, and he left without saying who he really was. I didn't know until later that night, when I saw his face on a giant LED screen near the stage. Adrian Hale, CEO of Hale Industries, one of the youngest billionaires in the country, a man whose schedule supposedly didn't allow him more than 4 minutes of free time per day. And somehow he had spent 10 of those minutes with me. I didn't expect to see him again. People like him don't circle back to people like me. But the next morning, my supervisor handed me a handwritten note delivered by a messenger. Handwritten. Who does that nowadays? It said, "Thank you for not pretending. Dinner tonight? Adrian." I almost didn't go. I kept telling myself this was too unreal, that I was being naive. But something inside me, maybe the part desperate to feel seen, pushed me forward. Dinner turned into long drives. Long drives turned into kisses. Kisses turned into weekends together. His hand always brushing mine as if he was afraid I'd disappear. The more time we spent together, the more I saw a side of him the world didn't know. Under the armor of power and wealth, he was gentle in ways that almost frightened me. He made tea for me when I was stressed. He'd stop entire meetings just to answer my texts. Sometimes, late at night, I'd catch him looking at me with this strange mix of longing and fear, as if he was terrified I'd discover something and walk away. I should have asked what that something was. But back then I was caught in a dream I didn't want to wake from. When he proposed to me 6 months later, alone barefoot in the kitchen of his penthouse while he burned the pasta he insisted on cooking, I said yes with my whole heart. I thought I knew him. I thought he trusted me the same way I trusted him. But the truth was buried under layers I didn't even know I needed to peel back. The first sign came innocently. A missed call. A name I didn't recognize. When I asked him who it was, he said it was nothing business related. But the tension in his jaw, the way he shut down an entire part of himself, that wasn't nothing. I let it go at first, everyone has their stress. But then I noticed his nightly routine changing. He began locking his home office door. He started disappearing for hours. And sometimes when he thought I was asleep, he paced the living room silently, checking the windows as if expecting someone to appear. A few times I tried to ask why he was worried, but he'd just pull me into his arms and whisper, "I promise everything's fine." But his heartbeat always told a different story. Our wedding was set for spring. Invitations were printed, venues booked, my dress chosen. People were calling me the luckiest woman alive. But I could feel something shifting inside him, a shadow growing. The night everything started unraveling, I was looking for a charger in his office drawer. I know people say you should never snoop, but I swear that wasn't my intention. My fingers brushed against a folder. Thick, out of place. Inside were old photos, grainy, almost black and white, of Adrian as a teenager. He was bruised in some, terrified in others. In the background of several, there was an older man whose face I recognized from business magazines. Victor Hale, Adrian's father. The father he never talked about. My stomach twisted. I had never seen Adrian look that young, that vulnerable. It was like staring into a past he had buried with cement and steel. And then I found the letter. Typed. With no signature. Just a single chilling line. "If you don't stop digging, everything we've built will burn." My throat tightened. Who was this threat directed toward? Adrian? His family? Another person entirely? Before I could make sense of it, I heard the office door click. Adrian stood there, sweat on his forehead, eyes darker than I'd ever seen. "What are you doing?" he asked softly. Too softly. I held the folder like it was a burning coal. "Adrian, what is this?" He closed the door behind him, walked toward me, took the folder gently from my hands and pressed it to his chest. For a moment, I thought he would finally tell me everything. But instead he whispered, "You shouldn't have seen this." Something inside me snapped at his tone. Not in anger, in fear. Not fear of him, but fear of the distance between us growing by the second. "I'm going to be your wife," I said. "You don't have to protect me from your past." He flinched as if I had struck him. "You don't understand, Rosie. My past isn't something you protect someone from. It's something you run from." He didn't say another word that night. He just held me tight, his breath trembling against my shoulder. That was the first night I realized the man I loved might be fighting ghosts that still had teeth. But the real breaking point came 3 weeks later. I received an email from an anonymous sender. No message, just an attachment. A single video file. My hands were sweating before I even clicked it. The footage showed Adrian, but younger, maybe 21. He was in a dimly lit room, speaking to someone whose face was blurred. His voice was low, almost frantic. "I told you," he said in the video. "If my father finds out, he'll destroy everything. He'll destroy me. You don't know what he's capable of." Then the blurred person replied, voice distorted, "You can't hide it forever." The video ended there. My breath stopped in my chest. This wasn't just trauma or family issues. This was danger. Real danger. A darkness that still had chains wrapped around him. And I realized something that made my skin crawl. Someone was sending this to me. Someone wanted me to know. Someone wanted me to expose him. I didn't know what to do. My love for him battled my instinct to protect myself. But the truth burned inside me, demanding to come out. After hours of pacing, crying, and replaying that nightmare of a video, I sent him a message asking him to come home immediately. He never came. His phone went straight to voicemail. His assistant didn't know where he was. The wedding planner called asking about final confirmations, and all I could do was stare at the wall and feel my entire world tilt sideways. The next morning, his security team said he had left in one of his cars the night before, alone. No destination. No explanation. He vanished. Just like that. The media didn't know. His company released a statement saying he was on a last-minute business trip. But I knew. I knew he was running from that secret. Or from whoever wanted it exposed. And I knew I was the reason it came to light. Days passed. I barely slept. Every corner of the penthouse felt haunted. The bed smelled like him. The shower echoes made me think he was calling my name. I checked my phone so often I thought my fingers would bleed. It was like the world had swallowed him whole. But the worst part wasn't the silence. It was the realization that the more I looked into his past, the more the darkness began to look back. The threats started subtly. A black car parked outside the building for hours. A man standing too close behind me in a grocery store. Anonymous text saying, "Stop digging." I told myself it was paranoia. But deep down I knew. Someone didn't want me uncovering what Adrian had tried so hard to bury. And yet, I couldn't stop. Because the truth had already hooked its claws into me. I couldn't marry a man I didn't understand. And I couldn't love him blind anymore. But I still loved him. God, I loved him so much it hurt. One night, about a week after he disappeared, I found something that made my blood freeze completely. I was in his walk-in closet, holding one of his shirts to my face just to feel close to him again. My fingers brushed against a seam on the back wall. A seam I had never noticed. It was a hidden door. And behind it, a small windowless room. Inside was a safe. I knew the code, his birthday. The lock clicked open, and for a second I felt guilty, but guilt couldn't compete with desperation. Inside the safe were files. Dozens of them. But one had my name on it. My chest tightened. My hands shook violently as I pulled it out. Inside were documents, photos, reports. A record of me, my family, my childhood, my job history, even my medical records. Things I hadn't told him. Things no one should know without permission. I felt nauseous, betrayed, terrified. The man I loved had been investigating me long before he proposed. Why? Before I could make sense of any of it, my phone vibrated. A message from an unknown number. "You went too far." My knees almost buckled. And then, as if the universe knew I couldn't take another second of silence, my phone rang. Blocked number. I hesitated only for a heartbeat before answering. And when I heard the voice on the other end, his voice, I almost collapsed. "Rosie," Adrian whispered, breathless, frantic. "Listen to me. Don't trust anyone. Not even." The line cut. I screamed into the empty room, clutching the phone so tightly my nails dug into my skin. He was alive, but he was in danger. And somehow now so was I. I didn't sleep at all that night. His voice replayed in my mind, shaking me to the core. Whatever secret he had been hiding wasn't just a family scandal or a dark mistake. It was something big enough to swallow both of us. By morning, I had made a decision, the same one that would change everything. I would expose the truth. All of it. Whatever he was running from. Whatever was threatening us. Whatever nightmare hid behind the Hale family's polished image. I would bring it into the light. I didn't know then that the moment I did, the world would turn on me. And that exposing his darkest secret would be the last time anyone saw Adrian Hale. But before I could even begin, a knock echoed through my apartment door. Slow, heavy, deliberate. And when I opened it, everything I thought I knew shattered. When I opened the door, a single thought pulsed through my mind. This is how people die in stories like mine. My breath caught midair when I saw him standing there. Not Adrian, but a man in a gray suit with a face carved out of stone. His eyes were unreadable, like he had trained himself out of having a soul. He didn't force his way in. He didn't speak at first. He just looked at me with a coldness that felt like a blade pressed to my spine. "Miss Rivera," he finally said, pronouncing my last name with a precise, almost surgical calm. "You need to come with me." "I'm not going anywhere," I answered, trying to sound braver than I felt. He stepped forward just enough for me to feel the shift in the air. "It's about Adrian." My heart lurched. My hand loosened on the doorknob. "Where is he?" The man hesitated, the slightest flicker, and that hesitation terrified me more than any threat could have. "I can explain everything. But not here." A part of me screamed not to trust him. But another part, the part that had been suffocating under the weight of unanswered questions, pushed me to step forward. His car was black, tinted, sterile. I got in. The city blurred outside the window, and with every passing block, my stomach tied itself into tighter knots. He didn't speak until we reached a secluded underground parking garage. The sound of the metal gate echoing behind us felt like a sentence being sealed. He led me to a narrow hallway. At the end was a room where a single folder sat on a metal table. "This," he said, "is why Adrian disappeared." I opened it with trembling hands. Inside were documents, photos, testimonies. A story written in pain and sealed in silence. Adrian's father, Victor Hale, wasn't just a ruthless businessman. He was the architect of a series of illegal operations involving offshore accounts, political manipulation, and the destruction of multiple smaller companies. Dozens of families had been ruined because of him. Some people had vanished. And there was more. Adrian had tried to expose his own father at 21. The same time the video I received had been recorded. He had confided in a journalist. But before the story could go public, the journalist died in a supposed accident. Adrian was forced into silence by threats so brutal that even reading them made my hands freeze. He had spent years trying to quietly untangle the mess, gathering proof, waiting for the right moment to strike. But someone within his father's circle discovered that he was still investigating. They had threatened him again. And now me. Why are you showing me this? I whispered. The man's expression didn't change. Because Adrian trusted you. And because you've already been targeted. I swallowed. Where is he? Is he alive? He paused too long. He's safe. For now. For now. My voice cracked. His eyes finally softened just a fraction. He didn't disappear because you exposed him. He disappeared because you were exposed. My blood ran ice cold. He continued. When you received the video, the people watching him realized you were becoming a liability. Adrian had no choice but to disappear and draw attention away from you. It's the only reason you're alive. A sharp pain spread across my chest. All this time I thought I had pushed him away. But he had been trying to save me. Then take me to him, I said, almost pleading. I can't, he replied. Not yet. You need to understand the full picture first. I leaned against the table, my legs threatening to give out. The man walked toward a security monitor and played a series of clips. Grainy footage of men following me, watching me, recording me. You were being tracked, he said. Adrian knew it. That's why he called you that night. I closed my eyes, breathing through the panic clawing at my throat. I don't understand. Why me? Why would they care about me? He sighed softly. Because they think Adrian will do anything to protect you. And they were right. His words sliced through me. I had spent days spiraling, believing I had betrayed him, when the truth was so much more twisted. What do they want? I asked. He looked at me as if weighing how much truth I could handle. They want the evidence Adrian collected. And they think he gave it to you. He didn't, I said immediately. I know. But they don't believe that. I wrapped my arms around myself, feeling suddenly cold. So what happens now? He stepped closer, lowering his voice. Adrian told me to find you, to keep you hidden until he finishes what he started. He wants you safe. It should have comforted me, but instead it destroyed me, because safe meant far away from him. Why didn't he just tell me everything? I whispered. Because he's not just fighting his father. He's fighting a network of people who have everything to lose. Bringing you into that puts you in danger. And he loves you too much to risk that. My chest tightened painfully. I didn't know whether to cry or scream. I pressed my palm to my forehead, feeling the weight of everything sitting like iron on my skull. The man placed a small device on the table. A phone. He left this for you, he said before turning away. But once you listen, Rosie, your life will never be the same. My heart hammered as I picked it up. The device unlocked instantly to a single voice message. I hesitated, breath shaking, and pressed play. Rosie. Adrian's voice came through raw, almost breaking. If you're hearing this, then they've reached you. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I never wanted you to be dragged into this. I thought I could keep you separate from the ugliness of my life. But I should have known better. His breath hitched, as if he were running or hiding. My father isn't what the world thinks he is. And I've spent my entire life trying to undo the damage he caused. I kept quiet because I didn't want to lose you. You were the one good thing I had. The only good thing. My throat tightened painfully. He continued. They threatened you. I couldn't risk letting them near you. So I left before they made good on their threats. I'm going to finish this. I'm going to expose everything. And when it's over, maybe then I can come back to you. A beat of silence. Then the words that shattered me. But if I don't make it, please know I loved you more than my own life. The message ended with a sharp exhale. Like his heart had broken mid-recording. I pressed the phone to my chest, tears blurring my vision until everything became a smear of light and darkness. I wanted to scream at him, to curse him for leaving, to hold him, to run to him, to make him promise he'd come back. But he was gone. Again. The man in the gray suit handed me an envelope. "This is where you will stay. It's secure. No one will find you." "No," I said, wiping my face. "I'm not hiding. You don't have a choice." "Yes, I do." I stepped forward, voice trembling but firm. "I'm going to help him." The man's jaw tightened. "Rosie, you don't understand." "I do," I interrupted. "I love him. And if he thinks he has to fight this alone, he's wrong." He stared at me for a long time, then sighed with a frustration that almost sounded like respect. "Stubborn," he muttered. "Just like him." He grabbed the folder and handed it to me. "If you're truly going to help, you need to know everything." I spent the next hours reading, absorbing, assembling the truth. A truth so dark it felt like poison. Victor Hale wasn't just corrupt. He was monstrous. He manipulated governments, bought silence, buried enemies. And he was hunting his own son. By the time I finished, dawn was breaking. The man returned, holding a small tracker jammer and a burner phone. "Keep these on you," he said. "If anything feels wrong, call me. And Rosie." I looked at him. "Don't die." His voice was flat, but something in his eyes told me he meant every word. I left the underground facility with a determination that felt like fire in my lungs. I wasn't going to be a hidden spectator in Adrian's war. I was going to stand beside him even if he didn't want me there. My first step was to go back to his penthouse one last time. I needed something of his, something that might help me piece together where he went. When I pushed open the door, the silence felt heavier than ever, like the air knew he wasn't coming back. I walked straight to his office. The hidden room behind the closet still felt like a wound carved into the walls. I searched through the files again, looking for symbols, codes, anything. That's when I noticed something I had missed. A small metallic card inside the folder with my name. A bank access card. Offshore. Cayman Islands. But it wasn't the card that scared me. It was what was written on the back, in his handwriting. "If anything happens to me, you'll know what to do." My legs weakened. He had prepared for the possibility of dying. He had left a path for me. I sat on the edge of the bed and let the weight of everything sink into my bones. I wasn't ready to lose him. I wasn't ready to accept a world where his smile became a memory. And then, as if pulled by instinct, I opened the closet and ran my fingers across his clothes again. One jacket felt heavier. I checked the pockets and found a folded note. A new address. And below it 2 words. "Trust no one." My heart raced. This was where he wanted me to find him. Or maybe it was where he had gone. Either way, I knew what I had to do. The sun was rising when I left the penthouse. The city felt different, sharper, colder, full of eyes. I kept my head down, my hand on the burner phone in my pocket. I reached the address 3 hours later. A rundown building on the outskirts of town, hidden among abandoned warehouses. The air smelled like rust and old secrets. I stepped inside slowly. The floor creaked under my weight. The hallway was narrow and dim. My heartbeat was loud enough I could hear it echo. At the end of the hall was a door, half open, and inside him, Adrian, sitting on the floor, his hair a mess, his clothes torn, blood dried along his jaw. He looked like a man who had been hunted by shadows I still couldn't see. When he lifted his head and our eyes met, something inside me broke and rebuilt itself at the same time. "Rosie?" he whispered, disbelief and terror mixing in his voice. I ran to him. I didn't care about the danger. I didn't care about anything except reaching him. I fell to my knees, cupping his face, feeling the warmth of his skin under my shaking hands. "You came," he breathed, resting his forehead against mine. "I'll always come," I whispered. His eyes closed and a single tear slipped down his cheek. "You shouldn't be here. It's not safe." "I don't care." "You should." His voice cracked. "I'm putting you in danger just by breathing the same air." I pulled his face gently toward mine. "Then we'll learn how to breathe together." For the first time since he vanished, he smiled. A small, broken, beautiful smile. But the moment shattered as a sudden noise echoed outside the warehouse. Heavy footsteps. Multiple. Getting closer. Adrian's eyes widened. They found us. Fear surged through me, but beneath it was something fiercer. I wasn't running. Not anymore. He pulled me close, holding my face. Whatever happens next, remember this. Loving you was the only thing in my life that ever felt right. And I'm not losing you, I whispered fiercely. Not now. Not ever. The footsteps grew louder. The walls felt like they were closing in. Adrian took my hand, squeezing it with desperate strength. Together, he asked. Together. The door began to open. And in that suspended heartbeat, where fear and love collided so violently it stole the air from my lungs, I finally understood something I should have realized from the beginning. This wasn't just his secret anymore. It was ours.